Next, on Currents News, kids as young as 12 can get vaccinated in New York City. What parents need to know. Italian Americans gathering under the statue of Christopher Columbus in Columbus Circle, standing up for their heritage.
The Catholic Church is not going to be canceled, Christopher Columbus is not going to be canceled, and the Italian American contributions to this country are never going to be canceled.
Answering the call, one deacon from Vietnam is very close to living his dream of becoming a priest. And an accident puts a 13-year-old girl in a wheelchair. Her family now putting their faith in God for her to walk again.
We're waiting for science to catch up to faith.
Hello, I'm Christine Persichetti. New York City is allowing kids as young as 12 to get vaccinated against the coronavirus. The question now is, will parents sign their kids up? While many adults have rolled up their own sleeves for the shot, they're hesitant to do the same for their children. But doctors say they shouldn't be.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, stick.
More and more kids are now able to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and some, like 14-year-old Jacob Laney, are already lining up.
Well, I'm going to be able to go more places without being scared of getting COVID-19, and I'll be able to just feel safer anywhere.
But some parents aren't convinced the vaccine is safe for their kids.
I want to learn a little more about it before that happens, just to see if there's any adverse effects.
So far, doctors say they've only seen slight reactions after Pfizer's trials of about 2,000 kids between the ages of 12 to 15. And Dr. Robert Tabali of the Catholic Medical Association says it is safe for children.
Bottom line is I think the children should be vaccinated, yes.
And researchers actually found after getting the second dose, 12 to 15-year-olds had even higher levels of antibodies than 16 to 25-year-olds who had also gotten the shots, making them far less likely to get sick.
18 cases of COVID in the 1,500 adolescents that had placebo and 0 in the group that got vaccine.
Some might argue COVID in children doesn't tend to be that severe. In fact, according to the CDC, children under 18 make up about 12% of all cases, but also represent just 0.1% of all COVID-19 deaths. So why get the shot? Here's one good reason.
We worry very significantly that there could be a mutation in the virus where it could actually, seriously affect children, and that could happen anytime.
So the focus now is going even younger. Trials have begun in children like 7-year-old Naomi, who has a message for those unsure about getting vaccinated.
That would be a great way to keep the world safe.
And if you're fully vaccinated, the CDC says you can ditch the mask, but don't throw them away. Many states, New York and New Jersey included, still have mask mandates in place regardless of vaccination status. And if you're traveling, the TSA is still requiring you to mask up in airports and on planes. Grocery chains and retail stores are considering their options, but many still want you to wear one while shopping. Health experts are explaining the reason behind the shift in guidance.
What we're doing now with the relaxation of the restrictions on people who are vaccinated is trying to get back to a degree of normality which people who get vaccinated deserve to have that.
Right now, about 118 million Americans are fully vaccinated. Experts hope the guidance will help push people on the fence to get a shot. Italian Americans are pushing to get the Department of Education to put Columbus Day back on the public school calendar. Currents News' Jessica Easthope went to Columbus Circle in Manhattan to hear their call.
Keep Columbus Day. Keep.
Representatives from the outraged community are making their voices heard, rallying around the Italian explorer they say is being canceled.
Our civil rights have been violated. The civil rights of, as I said, tens of thousands of Italian American students in the public school system, and this wrong should be made right.
Last week, the Department of Education replaced Columbus Day, celebrated on the second Monday in October, with Indigenous Peoples Day, then later added Italian Heritage Day to its calendar. Mayor Bill de Blasio says he wasn't consulted before the change was made.
This process wasn't handled right. I certainly didn't hear about the change, nor did the chancellor.
If the day is not reinstated, Italian-American organizations say they're prepared to take legal action.
And on behalf of the lawyers, we are going to do everything that the legal system has to offer.
Trial attorney Arthur Aidala says he'll take any path necessary to get Columbus Day back on the calendar.
There's not an obvious route, but we have some brilliant legal minds figuring out a way to do that.
One fact about the Italian explorer that never seems to be up for debate is Christopher Columbus was Catholic. Those rallying Wednesday say any attack on Italian-American culture is an attack on faith.
He believed in Christianity. He wanted to spread the word of Christ.
The Catholic Church is not going to be canceled. Christopher Columbus is not going to be canceled. And the Italian-American contributions to this country are never going to be canceled.
Community leaders say the time is now to fight for the students who are on the losing end of the move.
They want to rob us of free speech about Columbus in the schools. They want to take away the statues. They want to expunge him from history, which you just can't do.
Governor Andrew Cuomo has said he does not agree with the decision to remove Christopher Columbus Day from the public schools calendar and assured it will remain a city and state holiday. In Manhattan, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Apart from making the change to Columbus Day, the Department of Education is also adding Juneteenth to its calendar. For the 2021-22 school year, classes will be closed on June 20th in observance of the holiday, which celebrates the day in 1865 when slaves in Texas were finally informed of their freedom nearly 2.5 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Now to our new series, Answering the Call. We're introducing you to the men who are on the road to priesthood in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Deacon Joseph Hung Tran wanted to do nothing more with his life than to become a priest. Currents News' Jessica Easthope spoke with him and has more for us.
Deacon Joseph Hung Tran has had one goal since he was 12 years old: become a priest.
Pastor or the priest who I have met before. So, I just desire and imagine in my mind, oh, I want to be like him, how to serve.
Now at the age of 38, his dream is about to come true. He'll be ordained on June 5th. For the last 3 years, the Diocese of Brooklyn has been his home. It's far away from where he grew up in Vietnam, but he builds a new bond with the diverse community on his daily walks from St. Agatha's Parish to Sunset Park Playground.
I feel very happy how to work with people who come from different countries, different culture, different languages. I love that.
Armed with the Word of God and his favorite soccer ball, he passes people he hopes to be ministering to soon. His spiritual and physical health are top-notch.
Many people, they call me that is like sportman. Soccer and the volleyball is like badminton, tennis, billiards, and ping pong too.
Growing up in Vietnam, his dad was his spiritual guide, bringing him to attend Mass at 4 in the morning every day. He's one of 10 children, the first boy after 5 girls.
My daddy said that this is another girl. He will move our house to another town. Thank be to God, that is me. And after that, he said, oh, if I have a boy, I will offer to Jesus, to God, for the vocation.
Deacon Joseph says it's not his favorite food, Vietnamese pho, that makes him feel most full. It's serving others. Now he's fulfilling that promise to God. His love of Christ flowing from him every day.
I feel very happy and peaceful when I can help others, when I serve others, and when I can help the people, recognize Jesus.
He wants to bring an effervescent attitude to his mission of evangelization, making faith more rich so he can share it. In Sunset Park, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
And you can watch the priesthood ordination live right here on Net TV. It takes place Saturday, June 5th at 11 in the morning from the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph. And just like the deacons on the road to priesthood, high school seniors will soon be starting a new journey. And at St. Edmund's Prep in Brooklyn, students and teachers are celebrating. The entire school gathering on Ocean Avenue to honor the seniors on their last day of classes. The Catholic high school had been following a hybrid model during COVID. Now they have the prom to look forward to at the end of May. There's a lot more news headed your way. Should pro-abortion Catholics be refused communion? San Francisco's archbishop weighs in. And defending houses of worship, how one New York City council member hopes to do that. Plus, a 13-year-old girl is putting her faith in God after an accident put her in a wheelchair. And coming up on Tuesday, grocery store prices are soaring.
Definitely noticeable how prices are higher.
And prices could climb even more.
Frankly, this is going to go on for a while.
Families are struggling to put food on the table. What can you do to save on your grocery bills? Join us for a Currents News special report, Supermarket Shock, Tuesday at 7. U.S. bishops are currently preparing a document that will address politicians and pro-life policies, questioning if those who do not support the sanctity of life should receive communion. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is weighing in. She said she is pleased with a letter from the Vatican that urges bishops to be cautious about denying communion to politicians who support abortion. On the other hand, she said she can use her own judgment on whether or not to receive the Eucharist. The speaker has long supported legal abortion and has advocated for taxpayers to fund it by repealing the Hyde Amendment. San Francisco's Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone wrote a pastoral letter on the issue, saying those who reject the sanctity of human life should not receive. I spoke with him earlier this week and asked why he decided to do so now.
This is a problem that's been vexing the church in our country for a very long time. And I knew here in San Francisco, it's such a place of a secularized culture, I needed to do or say something about this. And I've been pondering what would be the best thing to do. And I concluded some time ago that issuing a teaching document such as this would be to clarify the key points about worthiness, truthful, Holy Communion, and what the abortion issue really is, and cooperation, and then the special responsibility of Catholics in public life.
All right, I want to read part of the letter. You wrote, "We all fall short in various ways, but there is a great difference between struggling to live according to the teachings of the church and rejecting those teachings." Talk about that a little bit.
So receiving communion is the act by which we profess that we believe what the church believes, and we're living our life accordingly. So if we fall, we all fall. That's why we have the other sacrament, reconciliation, so we can be put back in a state of grace. But to intentionally deny any of the church's teaching and receive communion is a lack of integrity, lack of coherence, Eucharistic coherence.
The USCCB currently has a document in the works about whether public figures like President Biden, a Catholic, should stop receiving communion because of their stance on abortion. Under current USCCB policy, decisions on withholding communion are up to individual bishops. So would it be up to you right now to decide if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi should be barred from communion? She's a California Catholic who supports abortion rights.
This would be the application of Canon 915. So that's in canon law. If someone who is persisting in obstinate, grave sin is not to receive communion or not to be admitted to communion. Not to be admitted to communion, that would be the local bishop would decide for his own people. So that's already in the Code of Canon Law.
So last week, Bishop Robert McElroy of San Diego told the Jesuit magazine America the Eucharist is being weaponized and deployed as a tool in political warfare. This must not happen. What's your response to that?
Well, there are many things to say. If it's to say that it's for a political motive would be really to read the minds of those who are taking this stand and know what their motives are. This is not a political motive for me. I intentionally waited until after the election to release it so it would not be misinterpreted as a political move. One could also say that those who are against applying the church's discipline are doing so for a political reason. I would much prefer a pro-abortion politician become pro-life than be replaced with a pro-life politician, because we grow the camp of those who are pro-life. And also, this has been done in the past. I point out in the pastoral letter the famous example of Archbishop Rummel in New Orleans in the mid-20th century. civil rights was the issue of their day, as abortion is in our day. He actually excommunicated 3 Catholics prominent in political life because they were opposing his policy of integrating the schools. And no one sees him as having weaponized the Eucharist.
So what is your message to prominent Catholics who promote abortion?
I would repeat what I put in the conclusion of the letter to please stop the killing. This is killing innocent human life. You have a very prominent position in society. You can influence societal attitudes and practices. You're in a position to do something to stop the killing. Please stop the killing. Please recognize the evil for what it is. Please have a change of heart and come back to the fullness of your Catholic faith. We await you with open arms to welcome you back.
That was Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone from San Francisco. You can read the Archbishop's full letter on thetablet.org. Brooklyn pastor Monsignor David Casado is calling out religious hatred after a crucifix was vandalized outside of his church. The image of Christ on the cross at St. Athanasius Church in Bensonhurst was thrown to the ground after the vandal climbed the church's fence early Friday morning. The cross was first installed 11 years ago as a tribute to Monsignor Casado's mother. He spoke to Currents News about the moment he discovered the vandalized cross.
Probably one of the saddest days of my life. The face of Jesus was actually in the dirt. And I got to tell you, it gripped me to the point that I almost started to cry. And when I saw the face of Jesus in the dirt, literally in the dirt, I said to myself, I could almost hear, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
There have been no arrests made in the case at this time, and the NYPD Hate Crimes Task Force is investigating. A New York City councilman wants more severe punishments for people who vandalize houses of worship. He's introducing legislation that would double the fine from $500 to $1,000 on top of possible criminal charges. Jessica Easthope met Councilman Fernando Cabrera in the Bronx and has more.
Councilman Fernando Cabrera is a pastor at New Life Protestant Church in the Bronx. Just a few months ago, his place of worship, like many others in New York City, was vandalized.
When my church got graffiti, it hurt. This is my second home. This is where we have communion. This is where we worship the Lord together. You can see that they're laughing, but it's no laughing matter.
Now, Councilman Cabrera is determined to send a message and show criminals just how serious it is.
What I'm hoping is that the fence of protection that says if you touch this house of worship, it's going to cost you.
He's introduced legislation in the city council that would double the fine for vandalizing a house of worship from $500 to $1,000, on top of possible criminal charges.
Any kind of vandalism will be covered. It's unacceptable to attack a house of worship. Members feel vulnerable. It's a form of persecution.
Since 2016, there have been 12 churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn that have filed insurance claims over vandalism. 5 churches in Queens and 7 in Brooklyn. The range of cost of damage from around $600 to $25,000.
Generosity flows through a Catholic church. And then someone comes and marks them. Someone breaks something very valuable. We're not going to tolerate it.
Councilman Cabrera says the $1,000 figure is significant. It's the deductible most churches are required to pay out of pocket by insurance. In the last year, several churches and schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn that were damaged and defaced didn't go through insurance. Councilman Cabrera encourages them to make a claim.
If we're going to be able to have data to be able to show that we do have a real problem here, it's very important for house of worship to report, and second of all, to report it to the insurance company, because that goes also in a database, especially in this city.
Councilman Cabrera's bill will be up for a vote in the Public Safety Committee and then in the City Council in the next few weeks. In the Bronx, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Still to come on Currents News, a 13-year-old girl believes she will walk again after an accident. How she stays positive in spite of her challenges.
We're not in denial, but we're waiting for science to catch up to faith.
Nick and Colleen Benedetto praying for a miracle after a skiing accident put their daughter Olivia in a wheelchair. The Benedettos are turning to faith in these dark times, never giving up and accepting each day as a new challenge. Currents News' Jessica Easthope spoke with Olivia and her parents and has more.
Olivia Benedetto is a self-taught gymnast.
I could do an aerial, a front aerial, back walkovers, front walkover, like you name it.
It's funny how now
her parents, Nick and Colleen, say they're amazed by how she can flip and twist.
We have a little yard, and she'd go out there every day and teach herself something new. Every day, teach herself how to do this, and we put up a trampoline for her.
But recently, Olivia's world was turned upside down. On February 16th, Olivia was in a horrific skiing accident in Pennsylvania. Her dad and older sister witnessed the moment that changed her life.
She went up, and all I see was go back, and just landed on her back.
I remember like my lower back being in so much pain. My legs felt a little weird, so I started to move them, and I still could, which I was like grateful for.
Olivia suffered a spinal cord injury and had surgery, but hasn't been able to move her legs since.
24, that's the day.
For the last few months, she's been living at Blythedale Children's Hospital in Valhalla. Her parents commuting back and forth every day from Breezy Point. Olivia's handling her injury with grace beyond her years.
For my surprise, I'm getting...
The other children at the hospital are drawn to her.
If I was there to sit in
Even her doctors are in awe of her outlook.
To see her accept this, hope for the best, but try to become as independent, as strong as she can, it's so motivating. I have never been so moved by a patient here at Blythedale as I am with this young girl.
That's you.
Her faith in God and herself is what's keeping her strong.
I feel like God is always with me, and I pray every night, because negativity, you're never going to live your life to the fullest, but with positivity, there's always going to be something great out there.
The doctors caring for Olivia have told her she might not recover much more, but the family, who belongs to Blessed Trinity Parish, are clinging to a glimmer of hope.
We refuse to accept that. We're not in denial, but we're waiting for science to catch up to faith.
Because of her accident, Olivia missed her confirmation. But her mom, Colleen, is hoping a special saint will intercede for her.
Start thinking about names for confirmation. She came across this name and it was St. Gemma. And then a month later, the accident. And that night, I looked up who the patron saint of spinal cord injuries were, and it was St. Gemma.
How do you do that? Up until her accident, Olivia was practicing her backflip. She was constantly filming herself and critiquing her technique.
Oh, she did it.
She and her family are praying for a miracle.
Oh, I found a few more.
Olivia loves watching her gymnastics videos.
No hands.
Yeah, this one was like one of my favorites.
Hoping she'll be at those backflips again.
Oh, I did it. Okay.
In Valhalla, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
What an inspiring story. We here at Currents News wish Olivia the best in her recovery. She is in our prayers. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.